Well,
What do you mean France, Czech and Italy were the only teams who practiced? Ukraine practiced 24 hours a day.
I'm going to actually go onto the clan-based site now, and we'll have a butchers at some of the history. Actually, why don't we just go through all the news posts leading up to it. Wow, look at this, exciting stuff going all the way back. Hey, I'll read them out, right, Vor, and you give your opinion on. Wow, there's quite a lot of games have happened. It's been going quite a while, this cup, hasn't it? Right, here we go. So the groups were published, the big groups, and in Group A we had Sweden, of course, in the final now, with Germany, Hungary, Austria, and Spain. So before the cup happened, who would you expect to go through that in that group for?
Sorry, say that group again. That was
Sweden, Germany, Hungary, Austria, and Spain.
It was how many go through?
2. It's a 5-team group. 2 go through. Sweden topped it, of course.
Well, you'd obviously expect Sweden to top it.
Yeah.
But the second place would have been up for grabs because could have been. Wait. Who was in it? It was Germany,
Hungary, Austria, and Spain.
Exactly. You could have expected either Austria, Germany, or Hungary to take it, depending on how much they were playing.
Yeah. And as we saw,
but you know, Germany always have problems, so maybe you wouldn't expect them to take it.
Well, Germany did come through in second spot on that occasion.
Yeah, I mean, they've always got the potential for a strong team, Germany. There just seems to be something that stops them picking certain players, or there's always arguments about who should be in the team.
I think they don't.
Austria, of course, if Noctis is playing, are always dangerous, but their lineups changed considerably from what we've seen as a strong team in previous Nations Cups, where they'd have the likes of View, Uvu, and Infamous playing alongside Noctis.
Hungary went through apparently, even though it's listed as Germany second.
Yeah, I didn't think Germany went through. I don't know where you got that from.
Well, I just read it off the group.
We're stupid. It's obviously wrong.
The actual clan-based site is wrong. Yeah. Well, they didn't make it any further anyway. So yeah, because didn't Hungary play? Oh, I can't remember now. Anyway, so you'd expect maybe Hungary, Germany, or Austria to go through in that group anyway. So it was all up for grabs. Is that what you're saying, Vor?
It was, yeah. Whoever was going to put in the most practice and perform on the day was going to go through, because those teams are pretty evenly matched.
The problem with Germany, I always find, is they've got a lot of star names, but they never really practice or prepare properly, or put together a really strong team. Well, they do have potentially on paper a strong team, it's just they don't seem to be prepared for it ever. Whereas Hungary, they've been the same kind of lineup for quite a long time, and they do usually put in practice. So yeah, in Group B we had the Ukraine, who were probably, in the group stages, the most impressive team, other than maybe France, would you say, Vor?
Yeah, I think that'd be fair to say.
Ukraine were pretty dominant, although in terms of actually results, I think they just started and they smashed Finland. They smashed them so hard Finland had to quit the tournament, Vor.
Oh, exactly. That's pretty much a devastating victory, isn't it, where you force the other team to actually drop out of the cup because you beat them so badly.
Yeah, that's something I'd like to achieve in my lifetime. So in that group we had the Ukraine, we had the UK, Denmark, Portugal and Finland. Now, to me, that looked like the group of death before you started it.
On paper, sure.
Ukraine, UK, Denmark, even Portugal and Finland. I mean, Finland looked very strong in the past few years. You could have seen them go through. UK have looked strong. Denmark, of course, won the country's championship in the ESL, the last nations tournament. So you would have expected them to top the group. In fact, they came third in the end. I mean, that was our prediction, wasn't it, for Denmark topped the group, and then up for grabs between probably UK, Ukraine, potentially Finland, but obviously Finland dropped.
Well, yeah, it was going to be another group where top on paper would go through, because that was Denmark, who'd won the country's championship not long before this tournament. But it was a disappointing showing from them. There's some players missing from the lineup that won them the ESL Countries Championship, and they didn't put in good performances at all. Ukraine were looking strong, as you said, so it was really between it was going to be between the UK and Finland potentially, but Finland dropped out as well. So it ended up being between UK and Denmark, and kind of some people thought in some ways controversial based on, I can't remember exactly, but
well, UK got 5-3 map wins.
Yeah, exactly. It was on map wins basically that the UK went through.
So Denmark were shockingly eliminated. So a bit of a surprise there. Then Group C. Now this, you'd have to say, is on paper, I would predict the easiest group. It was for the top team at least. France, they took that 4-0. They didn't even drop a map. 8-0 on the maps. France, Czech Republic, Netherlands, Croatia, and Lithuania. You'd expect France to have gone through. They would be favourites for that group. Czech Republic, Netherlands, Croatia, Lithuania, I'd say it's kind of the order you would expect it finished in, maybe. Although Netherlands, potentially stronger than the Czech Republic. Kind of, again, depends how well prepared they are. They've got, on paper, an amazingly strong set of players they can select from, but are you well prepared? We know the Czech Republic as well. Actually, the Czech Republic have performed exceptionally well in recent years, especially at the end of Quake 3. They were one of the top nations in TDM.
But they did well again in this tournament, to be fair.
Yeah. And Chris, he's always there. Their world-class star. They chose wisely. I mean, they selected Tornado, one of the underplayed maps in Quake Live. And they came out above Netherlands in that group. I mean, it's not really a shock, is it, really? Although no. I probably would have maybe thought Netherlands could have done it.
Well, yeah, but Netherlands maybe didn't have the most consistent, strongest lineup that they could have. They didn't practice at all, really.
Yeah, I mean, we hear this every time, though. Teams not practicing enough is pretty pathetic. I don't think it's a really valid excuse. I mean, it's a fact, maybe, but you can't really show much respect for teams that just don't practice so they don't go through. And that happens to be 90% of the teams for.
So, I think, just comment on that as well, maybe one of the problems with this tournament is that it was so soon after the country's championship.
Yeah, I have to agree. A little bit the timing. I think some of the teams had just started to relax a little bit after that tournament finished. They maybe didn't want to compete quite yet. I mean, if it was starting nowish, I think all the teams would have been well up for it from the start. But some of the teams just wanted to take a break from it, relax a little bit, and that actually cost them perhaps qualifying through the groups. We go to Group D, and again, a pretty competitive group in terms of the top 3 positions. And in fact, one might say you might have called it another way around before the tournament. Nobody knew perhaps how Italy were going to perform. So Italy, Russia, Poland, Slovakia, and Belgium. Belgium did drop out.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, if you were to go on past Nations Cups, then you'd have had Poland and Russia as an absolute certainty to go through in that group. But you know, anyone who follows the scene would know that Italy were a rising team, and that, you know, you'd have to say maybe Poland are on a decline.
Yeah, I think Poland, from going a couple of years ago to the Nations Cup finals in a couple of tournaments in a row, I think they were one of the absolute top 2 teams. Not even make the groups through the group stages this time. They've got to be pretty disappointed. And Russia, second place, I think they would be disappointed with that. Although,
well, they had an issue, didn't they?
Yeah.
Defaulted victory.
So it might not be completely accurate what happened there. But Italy, very impressive performance throughout this tournament as well. Of course, Sturmy playing for them. Perhaps the biggest name in Quake. across the whole gaming scene. And Zyrink's their star man, I'd say, for definitely very impressive.
Yeah, he was always coming up with pretty big performances, no matter who the opponents were.
Yeah, so let's go on to some of the matches and go through just quickly. We'll just have a little overview of some of the results we saw. So Poland taking 2-0 over Slovakia, you'd expect that. Austria beat Hungary 2-0.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's a shock and maybe that isn't, because as I said, it was all going to be, with games like that, who was in better shape at the time, because they're very evenly matched. But, you know, there was always a potential for it to be 2-0 to either team. But I don't think Hungary were one of the teams, you know, normally do so well in Nations Cup. They always get out of the groups, but, you know, they obviously made a bad start.
Yeah, I don't think they were too well practiced for this tournament. And obviously with the world-class kind of player as Noctis can make such a difference to a team like Austria. Whereas really Hungary don't have a world-class superstar player.
No. They have, you know, obviously 4 extremely good players, but they don't have that cut above player that some teams have access to.
So we got Sweden versus Germany. Sweden took that 2-0. You'd expect that, pretty much. Not really surprising result there. Let's have a look. France over the Czech Republic, 2-0. Expect that probably. Finland versus the Ukraine. Ukraine took that 2-0, and that was, of course, the match that saw Finland decide to withdraw. And where we first got a sight of just how impressive the Ukraine looked. But I mean, you have to sort of question maybe Finland weren't in the frame of mind. They were pretty annoyed that they didn't get to play with their best team due to the rules. So maybe we overrated Ukraine a little bit because of that?
Yeah, I think maybe slightly.
Now, after that great win by Austria in the first week, perhaps this was a bit of a surprise, Germany beating Austria 2-1.
Well, again, it's one of those games, it's not clear who's going to be the winner. I mean, you've got a superstar like Noctis playing, sure, but it's never guaranteed that even if he puts in a good performance, that's going to be a win, because Germany, maybe they're the slightly stronger team all round. They just got to see if they can deal with Noctis to get a result, which obviously they did manage to do.
They did Austria did pick Tornado, took that, losing on Purgatory. Both pretty large margins in terms of score, and then a very tight third map, Hidden Fortress. You just think if that had gone the other way, that's Austria through the group. As we look back now.
Yeah, which is how close the group is, of course. I mean, when you've got 3 teams, well, 1 team guaranteed to go through, and then 3 teams fighting for that second, pretty much. No, all the results are so important.
More results. Denmark taking out Portugal 2-0. That's to be expected, and I think we remember Denmark in that match. Maybe they didn't look as impressive as perhaps we thought they would have. Let's see. Yeah, they took the first map by 2 frags against Portugal, and Portugal are a good, decent lineup. But bearing in mind who Denmark are, you know, the champions.
Having just won the country's championship in ESL, yeah, you expected that to be a easy win. No offence to Portugal, but they shouldn't have been able to compete with a Denmark that was close to their best.
8 frag margin on the second map as well. So Portugal performing well. Denmark maybe a little bit. Maybe Denmark just took them a bit lightly, Portugal, but they still won. So that's the key, really, isn't it? Czech Republic versus Lithuania. Czech Republic took that. You'd expect that. Netherlands, Croatia. Netherlands 2-0. Expect that. Hungary versus Spain. And Hungary taking that 2-1. Now, in past Nations Cup, you'd probably expect Hungary to take that 2-0. So already we're perhaps thinking Spain have improved since past Nations, or maybe Hungary aren't quite as practiced. Maybe a bit of both.
Yeah, but you'd have to say definitely that Spain, they have improved.
Croatia. Go on.
They have, players like Pony. I can't remember if he necessarily played that game, but a player like him doing so well in Duel and then translating that into the TDM games he's playing, that's really boosted Spain.
Yeah, I think Denmark were missing Juvenile for a few of their games as well, which is obviously going to cost them. But still, there's enough talent in Denmark that you'd expect them to still dominate most teams. Croatia versus France. France taking that 2-0. Of course, we know France just dominated their group. Ukraine versus Denmark. Big match, which Ukraine took 2-0. And this is definitely where we started to think, wow, the Ukraine are the real deal. 143-116. Pretty comfortable victory that first map. Second map only by 7 frags, but that's a 2-0 victory. And no Juvenile. I think Denmark were a little bit shell-shocked by that one.
Yeah, they certainly were. They did go on to beat the UK, I believe, in Denmark.
Yeah, and I think
But
that
was kind of too late, because having not won a single map against Ukraine,
just
it kind of made that result unimportant unless they were able to 2-0 the UK, which they didn't manage, did they? It was 2-1.
Yeah. Big result here, Sweden versus Austria 2-0. This sort of proved that Sweden is still on it. Oh yeah, I think this was the one Noctis just messed around quite a bit, and it was a very boring match that we streamed. Netherlands versus France, and France took that 2-0, and relatively comfortable on the first map, the margin. Second map was by 6 frags though on Hidden Fortress. If I remember rightly, that was a very exciting game. And of course, if you go to the Clanbase site, you want to watch back the VODs. They are all linked within the news articles. Vision doing a great job there, and the other admins at Clanbase, another good job this season. Poland versus Italy. Italy taking that 2-0, and I think this is where you suddenly start to realise that, well, Poland aren't quite as strong as you'd expect. I mean, they got Avek playing, which is a world-class player, you know. But pretty comfortably beaten on Grim Dungeons there, and then Dreadful Place, a 1 frag margin, but Italy took it, and suddenly we're thinking, wow, Italy look pretty good. Maybe Italy can go quite far. Of course, they did get 3rd position in the end. Let's go down. This is next page. Netherlands versus Lithuania, 2-0 to Netherlands. You'd expect that. Russia, Slovakia, 2-0 Russia, again expected. And France, Lithuania, 2-0, again not a surprise. Sweden versus Hungary, a game they needed to step up for sure, Sweden, but you'd expect them to take that. They did take that 2-0. Germany versus Spain, that's a 2-0 victory. Spain versus Austria. And how about this one? This is probably a turn up for the books for. Spain took that 2-1.
Oh yeah, I remember. I mean, that was certainly a shock.
A 20 frag margin on the first map, Dreadful Place, and second map, 8 frag margin, pretty close, but they still took it. So, well, actually, I didn't. Where's the third map? Oh, there's the third map, and then the third map. Yeah, 20 odd frags. So, Spain really stepping up. Pony did play in that as well. Then here's the big game in Group B, which was United Kingdom versus Denmark. The UK getting that map win against Denmark. They lost, but they got the key map win that got them through the group. And this is the sort of strange thing about it, I guess, is the fact that Denmark lost to the Ukraine but beat the UK, but the UK beat the Ukraine.
Yeah, it was a strange group. I mean, you kind of expected, after how good we saw Ukraine were initially, that the UK might struggle in that game. But, you know, they got the performance that actually they needed. If they'd have not won that game, then it could have been, you know, the end of the tournament of the UK, I think, at the time.
Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, I think we were expecting perhaps the UK to be eliminated there, which is obviously we wouldn't be happy about. I'm pretty biased towards the UK. Been UK captain for quite a few years. But luckily we got through. Well, not luckily, skillfully. Czech Republic versus Croatia. Czech Republic took that 2-0. I think you would expect that as well. Ukraine versus United Kingdom there. 2-1 victory to the UK. Saw both of those teams qualify. Ukraine in top position, UK in second. Poland versus Russia. Russia taking that 2-0 in what might have been a pretty close game back in the day, but Russia just looking a lot stronger than Poland nowadays. Ukraine versus Portugal. Ukraine 2-0 as you'd expect. Italy versus Slovakia. 2-0 Italy. Sweden versus Spain. Interestingly, Spain took a map off Sweden, but...
Yeah, what map was that again? Was it OSP5 by any chance?
It was, in fact...
Yeah.
No,
I mean,
it was Hidden Fortress.
Oh, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh wow, yeah, well that was a surprise as well. I mean, obviously Spain, normally they suffer from high ping problems, and, you know, for them to win such an aim-heavy map against, you know, players like C playing for Sweden, and that was a big surprise.
Yeah, it's quite a surprise. I mean, we've seen the Spanish team, D9 especially, most of the players involved in the Spanish national team as well. They didn't win a single map a couple of Eurocups ago, but they've always played a very tight, tactical game, very good on the items, stick together in groups, but they don't rush about. It's not a very high damage team, you would say, but it seems like Spain have just moved on from that level. And I mean, honestly, beating Sweden on that map was quite an achievement anyway, but Sweden did actually take that match. So, saw them
They'd
take
certainly
the
be worried, though, having, you know, lost that. I think that perhaps was a wake-up call for them in the tournament to step their game up, because we commented at the time that it wasn't, you know, a Sweden team of old that was dominating their games like you'd expect Sweden to normally do.
Yeah, we really weren't that impressed with Sweden at the moment. In all honesty, I was predicting that they would not get to the final. So when they actually took on, was it Italy? I was really expecting Italy to win, but they really stepped up their game, Sweden. And it really makes this final really interesting to call. But just the last group games, then Netherlands versus Czech Republic. The Czech Republic taking that 2-0, ending any hopes of the Netherlands getting through the groups. And maybe you'd be surprised by that result. I mean, Netherlands having a very strong team there as well. Scoot, Exodus, Gurda, Spawns. You know, pretty close first map. Second map, not that close, but that's Tornado, and that's the advantage you get when you pick a map, a new map. If you practice on it and the other teams don't put in the time, you're going to get that advantage, almost like a 1-0 head start. Then look at this one. Hungary beating Germany 2-1. And that is what put them through the group ahead of Germany, effectively. So just some like bizarre switch around results. Like Hungary, as the tournament went on, just got better and better, and sort of reached the level we'd perhaps expect Hungary to reach. And yeah, that led to the playoffs. So we had France versus Russia. Again, a game you probably would have favoured France, but Russia, they could have taken it. I mean, very strong team. Sweden versus UK. Sweden heavy favourites there probably, but you never know with the UK. Sometimes they can just pull it out of the bag. Play really strong maps and win. Italy versus Czech Republic. I think Italy were pretty heavy favourites for that one after the group play. And Hungary versus the Ukraine. Ukraine took that 2-0, and that's not a surprise. France-Russia, a 2-1. We did cover that, of course. We covered most of the games in this tournament. First map was Hidden Fortress, went to France. It was a relatively comfortable margin, I guess, for that kind of map. Dreadful Place went in favour of Russia. Again, similar-ish margin, and then it went to Grim Dungeons, where that's a pretty comfortable 60-odd frag margin in favour of France, putting them through to the semi-finals and knocking Russia out. Sweden versus United Kingdom. Let's see who played for in the teams there. Oh my god, it's my name, Disrepute.
Well, we know why we lost then.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, the UK didn't do too well, did they, on the map scores there, so we'll just ignore that and move on to the semi-finals. Now, Wednesday 21st of March, and oh, I don't know, this is just when the news was put in, I guess, but Ukraine versus France. That was a little while ago, that semi-final. France taking that 2-0, and it was a little bit up in the air about which one would be the favourites in that. Although France looked like they were really strong, I was just perhaps expecting a bit more from the Ukraine War, because the score in the end, Hidden Fortress, 250 to 170 in favour of France.
Yeah, I mean that's
a crushing defeat.
It's a huge win for that stage of the competition, obviously.
It seemed like to me, like France were obviously always one of the absolute master strong teams. They have got probably what you'd call two world-class players in Lincoln and Wins, and probably one of the only teams to have that. But the same...
Yeah, I mean that level of player it's hard to deal with from pretty much every team, isn't it? You really need severely good team play to overcome them, or strong individuals yourself.
Yeah. But at the same time, before the match, you know, we weren't completely sure. We knew France would be a really strong team, but Ukraine had looked so good, and maybe just a little bit of fatigue, you might class it as. They were just not quite reaching the level they needed to get past an absolutely world-class team in France, Ukraine, but pretty close just below. And maybe
I think
next
Ukraine,
time
they kind of peaked too early in the tournament. They were looking unbelievable in the group stages. Maybe that was just, you know, they looked better than they were. But I think, you know, they were kind of not looking so strong anymore once we got to those later stages.
So we're moving on to the other semi or quarter-final, is that? What am I at now? Yeah, sorry, quarter-final. Italy versus Czech Republic. Italy taking that. That's to be expected. Zyrink's the superstar man. Probably my player of the tournament thus far. And we'll see what happens in this final though, Vore. Playoff semi-final, Sweden versus Italy. That one, as I said, I probably favoured Italy. It was 2-1 in the end, but Sweden did come through it victorious. It was a good game. Go and check out the VODs of that as well. Remember, you just go to clanbase.ggl.com, click on the Nations Cup 25, I think it's classed as XV. I've just been calling it 2012.
XV would be 25.
Oh, 15 then, is it? Then I thought X was 20.
X is 10.
Oh, okay. Is that even it? I can't remember now.
Well, I don't know what it is, but I'm just telling you that X is 10, XV is 15, and XXV is 25.
It'll be 15 then. Yeah, look, it says there, yeah, XV. Third place playoff match, Ukraine versus Italy. I think that was another one we weren't quite sure, but I think by then we probably favoured Italy a little bit. Ukraine have dropped off, and Italy's still looking very strong.
Yeah. I mean, Italy certainly gave Sweden more trouble than Ukraine gave to France. So.
And that was only a few days ago. Check out the VODs there. Of course, they're all on our Level Up YouTube page. Pretty much all the games we covered. I think we only missed 1 or 2 games which were clashing games. So
pretty much, yeah.
Almost the whole cup is up there on YouTube. Go to that. YouTube.com/leveluptv. Remember to subscribe. And now the final, Sweden versus France. No referee yet, Vor. What are we gonna do?
Get Howard Webb.
Howard Webb. And Sweden versus France. I really can't call it, Vor.
Well, I think it's difficult to call it for sure, but I would still favour France. They have looked the better team in the tournament. You know, you can never write off Sweden, but team containing Wins and Lincoln, for me, it's not only great to watch, but it's extremely hard to beat. So
let's go to this other website. Now this is worth checking out. It is Quake.cz, the Czech Republic site for Quake. beta.quake.cz/QL stats, and we can see here, in fact, if I just go to the QL stats section, this is Vision is one of the people who's done this. I can't remember the other names of who else has done it, but the Czech players. And you see all these cups. Look at it, it's ridiculous. They've even got the pickup channels and all the matches there. Who are the best TDM #TDM pickup players? Let's have a quick look at that. The best, well look, the UK is 4th best in the world. That's all we need to see. That's all we need to care about. Let's go off it and go back to what we really care about, which is Clan-Based Nations Cup 15 or 2012 as I've been calling it. And we can see all these stats. It's crazy stats. Now this is a very interesting to see. Which maps are played first? Let's look at this. Hidden Fortress, most popular map. I'd expect to see that tonight between the two teams. I'd expect France to maybe pick that one.
Well, if Sweden lose it to Spain, you'd think that would be a heavy favourite for a pick, wouldn't you?
You would. Dreadful Place, second most popular, only one map pick behind, but then quite a gap down to Grim Dungeons, Purgatory, and Tornado at the bottom there. It has a 10 picks though, to be fair, but obviously least popular. These are interesting stats for the admins to see as well. Look at this, you can even hover over it, see the map image. That's quite cool. Look at this for 73 matches hit the time limit, 10 games hit the mercy limit. 10.
Yeah.
One game forfeited. Who was that?
That was Finland.
It was indeed.
Disgraceful.
Yeah, I really don't like it when teams forfeit games, but you know, if you're going to do that, you're going to do that. So here, look, we have these individual stats. Now, the rating, I'm not quite sure what the algorithm is, but essentially they've got stats like the amount of frags the individual got, the average frags per map, I guess, maybe per match, average frag net, average damage dealt. I mean, look at Lincoln's. Lincoln's average damage is 4,674, which is 1,300 higher than second best ranked player. And very interesting for tonight's match, Lincoln top rank wins second best rank. 2 French players.
Yeah, I mean, I did say earlier, I mean, any team of those two is unbelievably good. I mean, whether it's Colwyn or whether it's France, and you know, who are we expecting to play with Lincoln and Wins? I mean, we imagine Gizmo would definitely be the 3rd player,
CRV
and then that 4th
maybe.
player could be CRV. So Gizmo and CRV are certainly strong
Appleseed has
players
played
as well.
Well, I mean, we look at this. We got Lincoln Wins. Then the next player base down is 6th place Puri for Sweden, of the players that could play tonight. Then Appleseed in 8th, and then Gizmo in 14th. So before Sweden have even got their 2nd player in, there's 4 players that are ranked better than them for France. So that's maybe giving you the idea that France are perhaps favourites.
Yeah, but I wouldn't put too much stock into those rankings. I mean, I don't know.
A lot to do with who you played, I guess, as well.
But I can't see how Appleseed is ahead of players like Puri. You did say Appleseed, right?
I did say it's Appleseed.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm just gonna keep reading these down. And then you've got Faz in 16th, Senti in 17th, Sparty in 19th, Blind in 22nd, and then CRV down in 26th, Dibby down in 30th. But as you say, like, these raw stats in themselves don't tell the whole story. Actually, Dibby is one of the best TDMers out there at the moment. It has a massive impact on the outcome of his teams that he plays for. So I won't read it all to you. Let's click on Lincoln, have a look at some of the individual stats. So we can see the average accuracies, or the accuracies. Machine gun 37% he hits, lightning gun 36%, railgun 53%, very high accuracies of course. 5 games on Hidden Fortress, I'd expect France to pick that then if they've played it that often. 45% of the time they've played them, they've won 100% on it, so not too bad at all. 83 excellence, 107 impressives. That's in 11 games for 107 impressives. Not
yeah,
bad.
that's certainly good, isn't it?
Not bad at all. It's almost 10 a game at least. Oh, France hit the mercy limit on somebody once, and they forfeited once somebody. So maybe that was the forfeit. We can see all the games here. I don't know what this lost map is. Let's have a look at this, where they lost to, of course, Russia. We can see all the stats here. This is an amazing site. It really is. This is so good. This is such a great job that Checkquake have done here. And of course, I mean, everybody's seeing QL ranks, but this is specific stats for tournaments. It's not just a general over the top, you know, all public play included kind of statistics. So it can be really interesting to break this down. I mean, why don't we have a little look and see how the great British players did? There's Disrepute. How's Disrepute doing? Well, I'm ranked 6th in the UK out of 7. I played two maps, got 77 frags, average frags 38.5, average net -10. Okay, average damage net 556. So a positive damage net. That's good.
It's all right, isn't it?
It's not bad. If we look in the UK, the best player is Garpy according to these statistics. Only him and Chumbo have an actual positive average net though. Everybody else in the UK not looking too good. Of course, you do have to take these stats with a pinch of salt for these different teams because depending on the positions. For example, if we're talking about Hidden Fortress, you might have one player inside the yellow room. Now they're obviously expected to build up a big net, do a lot of damage, while other players might be sacrificing themselves in the red armor area. So, you know, it doesn't mean everything. Let's have a look at Sweden. Hungary have actually used the most players, with 9. Sweden, Puri, Faz, Senti, Sparty, Blind, Dibby, Bab and Phoenix is their selection of players that they've used. So tonight, if they want their best team, according to these stats, should be Puri, Faz, Senti and Sparty. Do you agree with that kind of statistics?
Not really.
Not entirely. Not quite sure about that, Law. Of course, as opposed to the UK...
Well, let's bring this to a real world comparison. Now, according to the stats, Andre Santos is the best left back in the Premier League. Now, not many people will agree with that, but the stats say it's true. So stats don't count for everything.
The stats don't lie, mate. The stats don't lie. Let's just go and also so that's a great site to go to. So beta.quake.cz/QL stats. Go and check that out, and we'll have a look at QL ranks. Why don't we, eh? I don't know why, but I guess we can find something interesting here.
You can find information like who's played the most public TDM or pickups.
Yeah, so let's have a look at TDM, is it? Oh, I've obviously been to see myself before. Oh, it's going to me. No, we don't want to view that.
Don't want to view how bad you are, Dis. Keep that a secret.
Well, some of these stats you might want to take see. Well, look, the most popular TDM maps for Campgrounds, Hidden Fortress, Blood Run, Almost
Well,
Lost,
stats like that are interesting.
Grim Dungeons,
because,
Purgatory, Dreadful Place, Retribution.
Those are stats that set in stone, whereas the ratings aren't really very accurate because whoever is fortunate enough to win pickup all the time is going to be extremely high, but maybe they're not so strong in match situations.
I mean, it is a good example of the type of players that we've found very interesting throughout this tournament. Triple Sex for the Ukraine, very highly rated, played a lot of games. He's obviously performed expertly well. Zyrinx is in 3rd position. He's a GM, I think that means Grandmaster, yeah it does. Only 3 of them in TDM. He played for Italy, of course, Zyrinx, and he was probably our star man of the whole tournament. ZLC in 4th position, probably one of the most exciting players to watch for Denmark. Krissa, world class again. Czech Republic performs so well, 5th position. So it does give a sort of gives you
I think
a
at the top
decent
ranks,
overview. Yeah.
The players belong there. It's just the order is really a bit suspect, and when you get a bit further down and you start to see players that have really never played competitively, they've only played pickups and publics. Like, I remember the #1 ranked player being someone I'd never heard of.
Yeah.
Like Baron Winter or something. It's not really a name I'm too familiar with.
Let's have a look at Sweden. So their top ranks: Dibby, Puri, Sugar, or Shug, sorry, and Phoenix, then Empish, Piers, Zor. I'm not really sure. Piers, I thought he was Spanish. Oh, what have I clicked on? How did that even happen? I don't even know. Right. Let's see. France. Wins is the top-ranked French player here. Then Sharp, the king. Baron Winter in 4th.
Yeah, but Baron Winter, that is a guy that just plays publics, right? I've not seen... I mean, I don't exactly play pickup, but I keep an eye on the channel. I don't recognise that name from pickup either.
Yeah, I don't either. So I guess it is. NHSB...
So that's kind of a flaw, isn't it, in the system?
Gizmo, who'll probably be playing, is in 6th position. Strength in 9th. Don't actually see Lincoln there. But, I mean, Wins top. I mean, you know, it's relatively correct in a lot of positions. Definitely a site worth looking at, though, if you do play Quake.
It's great. It's just, for the team modes, it's a bit...
Well, it's always going to be a little bit more difficult, isn't it, to rank team players based on stats,
exactly.
You know. But at the same time, it's still interesting, and you can improve your game by kind of trying to achieve better statistics. So you do rank up in this, you know.
And it's good fun, like when people you don't like lose, to go and update their ELO straight away for them.
Help them out.
Exactly.
We'll do it. We'll help them out. We're going to update it. Win's got a win rate of 82%. Will that be lowered tonight? We're looking at 10 minutes time
Wow,
until
if they lose
this grand final.
Will be lowered.